Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you guys are doing good. This is me, Abu Bakr Dilawar. I welcome you all to our latest episode of Founders Kahani. So as you know, like in Founders Kahani, we always invite amazing startup founders from all around the world so that you can get your inspiration and start your entrepreneurship journey. So today's podcast is I'm personally very excited to host this podcast today because he is also a very young founder and I am so much impressed by his journey, by his content strategies, and also like he's very good looking as well. So most of the female who wants to go for an entrepreneur, he's a perfect candidate for you guys. So please welcome Timo from Germany. How are you, Timo?
Yeah, thank you for the invitation, Abu Bakr. I'd love to be here.
Yeah, so this is Founders Kahani. So if I ask you like, what's your kahani? Because kahani means story in Urdu.
Yes. So basically, when I was 17, I came back from an exchange year from the US, and it was actually just I wanted to play soccer, so football in Europe, but soccer in the US. I wanted to play some sports. I wanted to get to know the other side of the world a little bit, and did that for 10 months. Came back, and COVID started to hit, and when COVID started, yeah, I kind of had some time left. Of course, I finished high school, but with the time I had left, I thought, okay, wait, I can do something progressive with that time. And then yeah, I got a little bit into sales. I started sales online as a freelancer, and at one time I bought a course. I remember that I bought a course for around 2,000 euros. And the course provided me with like sales skills and all this stuff, and how to outreach, how to source, and how to close. And this workshop or this course was just pretty trash. It was bad. It was really bad. But I paid the 2,000 euros, and I actually hadn't the money for paying the whole thing up front. So I need to earn some money. So I thought, okay, when I buy the course, I can make some money while getting the skills from the course and then make money with sales. Unfortunately, the course wasn't that good. So I figured that I needed to start like a 9 to 5 job for a certain time. So I did that. I worked at a local shop here in my hometown in Bremen. It's northern Germany. So I worked a 9 to 5 job for like 4 or 5 months just to pay the monthly fees from the workshop I paid off. So yeah, I did that for 4 or 5 months and paid it off. And then that was actually the first time I got into the entrepreneurial journey while doing sales for the first time.
That's really great. I think you have a very amazing journey. So I've been seeing like a lot of pivots in your career, basically, right? You have like pivoted more often, more often, more often. And coincidentally, I was in a discussion with a Saudi founder yesterday, and he also like told me about something like in your early 20s, in your early career, how important pivoting is in your career. But most of the times, like especially the tech students who are university graduates, they prefer to stick to their degree, basically stick to the skills that they have and always work on that skill and on that specific education. So how do you see like how important pivoting is in the early careers and is in early 20s?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, or I would maybe differentiate between pivoting and quitting. That's actually something I talked about with Brandon Rogers, a Silicon Valley founder who's now a VC in India. And Brandon Rogers also differentiated pivoting with quitting. So basically you have the pivoting, which is you stick to the idea, you figure out that the idea is not the best one right now. So you change course, but you keep on going, you just fail fast, you know? And quitting is basically you just fail and you don't keep on going. So I think if you pivot, it is critical to pivot, I think, but don't pivot too early. So you always have to ask yourself the question, okay, is this path I want to take right now? is this the best path I can take, or are there other paths or other ways to proceed even faster, and also to fail maybe faster. So don't think about how can I be the most successful. You can also think about that way. How can I be on a path where I can fail as soon as possible, because then I can pivot. So, I mean, I would say I pivot, of course, yeah, because I didn't stick to my agency, for example. I chose to choose a sales path afterwards because I wanted to learn from others. I wanted to learn how organizations really work. So I went back to the 9 to 5 in sales. I mean, sales is not really 9 to 5, but it's still employed. And so I did that. But I would always say that since this day, I'm in B2B service. So I started this with 16, 17 years of age, and I'm still in this industry. So basically, I'm pivoting in the certain activities. So I'm actually packing my backpack with certain skills in this industry, but the industry always still the same, which doesn't need to mean that I will stay in this industry for the next 10, 20 years. But for now, this is actually the best way so far.
Yeah, I think that's a very great answer, and it's very honest. Like there is a huge difference between quitting and pivoting, basically. You know why I was so excited to record this podcast and to have a conversation with you is that because I'm like constantly stalking you on LinkedIn and on Instagram from month so that I can text you is because that I have seen like your journey is related to my journey as well, because you also started as a consultant, sales consultant, and you are also trying to basically make a community by podcast and by different taking initiatives. So if you see, like I'm also started my career as a marketing guy, and then I founded my startup which failed very badly, so we did a very bad exit. And also right now I'm working as a business strategist for a company as well. And I also trying to make community through my podcast and through by taking different initiatives as well, like Techstars, because I'm the community leader for Techstars as well. So right now the most confusing thing in my mind, I think most of the early 20s guys also find this a lot. What's our mission basically? If I ask you like what's the mission of your company, of your podcast, and in a longer run, where do you see your initiatives?
I think so. My mission with the podcast is, when I started with 17 years of age, I wanted to get coffee dates with founders, with people who are further than me. And of course, I didn't take the time to get on coffee dates with a 17-year-old. So basically, what I figured out was I need a platform for people to actually meet with me. So I created the podcast. So my motivation and motive in that case with the podcast is just to have conversations which my younger 17-year-old self would love to have. So right now I'm 21 years old. I still ask certain questions that I would ask when I was 17, because I know there are other people who are 17, 18, 19 years old, maybe also 21 years old, who didn't get in touch with any founders so far. So they have very basic questions. So I ask those questions, but of course I proceed in my career as well. I proceed with my skills, with my knowledge. So with my knowledge, the type of questions also change for a little bit. But so I think it's just a progressive kind of mindset. I approach the podcast, but with the professional thing, I think my biggest motivation and drive is to create as much experience as possible, to actually fill my backpack. I would always, I love this kind of metaphor, to fill the backpack, because when you hike up a mountain, you need certain skills and certain instruments to hike up the mountain. If there's an ice wall, you need a brick, whatever. So to pack the backpack is my biggest motive in that case. And I think nobody will, you don't create a unicorn company by starting from zero. I mean, the fewest people, let's say Mark Zuckerberg, for example, of course, Mark Zuckerberg will create a unicorn company with, I think he was 21 years old. The unicorn once become a unicorn, became a unicorn. But let's have other founders. I mean, 99% of the founders, they have the unicorn with their 10th or 11th startup. So 10 fails, 10 mistakes, and the 11th one is a big hit. So I think you just have to push quantity, and that's actually my motivation, to just push quantity to get the quality afterwards. Let's say Brian Chesky, for example, the founder of Airbnb. I would really suggest everybody to watch a Stanford University YouTube video from Brian Chesky. I think it's 8 years old now, where he splits the story of Airbnb into 8 and 9 phases, and how he scaled Airbnb, and what kind of scenario there was in the beginning. Investors declined offers because they didn't believe in the hospitality industry, and they thought it's too volatile. They actually thought it's the stupidest idea to let people live in your own house for one night and then leave. And so basically, you can do anything, but you just need to push quantity, because also for Brian Chesky, that wasn't his first company. So yeah, I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, it absolutely. Now, I have a very personal question to ask from you. So, have you ever felt exhausted, and how you handle those situations? Because, I'm also 23 years old, and I started my journey back when I was just starting my university. I was 18 years old, like building communities, doing startups. But, this is a pressure of for you, especially in your early 20s, that you have a lot of options available for you. You have like your dream job waiting for you. You have the chance to go for a university to abroad. You have chances to move to another cities, to move to another country. And else than that, you have the pressure to enjoy your early 20s as well. So how do you basically manage that pressure, and have you ever exhausted, and how you handle those exhausting situations?
Yeah. So I think being exhausted in your 20s shouldn't be a big deal. This is only my opinion. Nobody should take my opinion for his own situations. But I think that your 20s are for pace and your 30s are for direction. So basically, you have to push in your 20s. You have to figure out certain things. You have to go into the mud. You have to eat some shit, to be told in that way. To only get something out of your 20s is by being fast. And so I think being exhausted is part of the journey. I think you have to be unbalanced in certain times to achieve great things, but you also need something that can get yourself back to certain points. So basically, I do running a lot. I love running. I do ultra running, and I figured out for myself that if I run without music, without headphones, without anything, I can just meditate a little bit and get myself back to my base of thoughts. So yeah, I think being exhausted is part of it. But I think it's not for everybody. You can also study yourself through your 20s and be 28 with your second master, and then start working. I think that's pretty easy and pretty chill. Although they are pretty difficult master or bachelor degrees out there. But I think to start from scratch with not having a fortunate family around you, or friends who can help you out. So basically starting from scratch with only yourself helping you. I think this is the best scenario you could start in. When you really get it out of this, you can get it out from everything. And I mean, we have a German sentence which is called "Wo gehobelt wird, fallen Späne," which is the translation is when you do certain things, or when you, so like the direct translation is when you cut a tree, there will be certain like little woody things chopping off the tree, and the cut is not always very clean. So basically, if you do something, there's always certain things that go wrong, or that can be very difficult, and you do mistakes, of course. So when you do something, it is good to make mistakes because it's part of it. And I think this is also with the exhaustion part. If you don't do anything that exhausts you, it's maybe not worth it.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you manage the pressure basically then?
I mean, the pressure is coming from my side, I think.
Yeah.
Nobody around me is putting pressure on me. I think the only pressure is coming from my side.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So definitely. How do I deal with it? I don't know.
I would let me rephrase it a little. How do you basically, this is a thing about passionate people, especially when you are early 20s, you like to hustle a lot and you can hustle a lot. So there are some of the opportunities that maybe are clashing. So how do you basically handle the fear of missing out an opportunity?
Chris Williamson, a podcaster, has a great quote on that. He says, you have to choose your regrets. So basically what that means is there's regrets everywhere because there's always an option, and you just always have to be in the situation where you can choose between two options, and every choice is backed with a regret for not taking the other choice. So I think regret is part of it, and regret is a result of having more options than you should have or would have. So I think it's just part of it, and you have to choose your regret. So don't be sad if you take the wrong path, because the regret would also be on the other side if you would choose for the other one.
That's a very wonderful answer, I guess. So how do you basically, there is also one other scenario. I think this is the podcast there today where I'm getting all the questions that are in my head, basically all the
Great.
confusion that are in my head. So there is one more confusion, one more hurdle that you basically face if you are in your early 20s and you are leading a team, or you are founding your own startup, or you are maybe interacting with all these big shots of entrepreneurship, VCs. So how do you make them that they will take you seriously, and how you will learn a leadership role in an organization?
Mm. I think if you are in a room with VCs, investors, other entrepreneurs, business partners who are older than you, and they have the same drive, they will feel the drive. And I think drive is superior to other traits. Let's say age, let's say experience, whatever. I think drive is the biggest competitor to other traits. And I think if you have the drive, and people feel drive when they are in the room, when they see you, when they hear you talking, and you just have the fire in yourself and they feel it, then they will submit to that. And they think, okay, this guy maybe doesn't have the experience, maybe doesn't have the age he should have, but he has the drive. And I think with drive, this kills everything. I think if you have the drive, if you have the motivation, if you want to go through mud, then that's more worth than having the experience or having the certain age you should have.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, I also have a personal question to ask from you then. So,
Okay.
maybe I think this happens with you a lot as well. Like when it's true that if you meet a successful founder, if he finds a drive in you, that and he will help you a lot in any of the initiatives, and he will truly guide you with honesty and all that stuff. And also with same that they will say to you like, oh, I have a trust in you, you are going to do wonders in your life and you will be doing such a great stuff in your life. But it also creates a lot of pressure on yourself to be successful. Like if then you have the pressure, like so many people trust on me, and you even feel a self-doubt in that, like, am I deserving of that appreciations, and what if I messed up, and all the people who put trust on me will be like saying that we trusted the wrong guy. And I know, I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say basically.
So basically, not, you mean the question to not fail others,
Yes.
not fail people. Okay. So I think I don't get, or I don't have expectations on other people than other than myself. So by not disappointing other people in my life, the best way is always to put 100% prioritization on myself, because once I put prioritization on other people, not on myself, I immediately start to let other people down, because the biggest insult to yourself is not to put yourself in the first prioritization, and this is also the biggest insult to people around you relying on you. So let's maybe jump to 15 or 20 years further, when you are, or I am, around 40 years old. We have a family, and don't you think that the family and the kids and the wife would be disappointed if you don't put the family and yourself on the first position, and you put somebody else on the first position, let's say your business partner, or somebody you're disappointed in business? This is the biggest issue that maybe people could have in business and entrepreneurship, is that they put other people in front of themselves and forget themselves. So deprioritize themselves, and I think that's the biggest mistake you could do.
In the previous podcast, we have like more of the serious version of the questions, right? So I'm part of Gen Z, and you are also part of Gen Z. So Gen Z always find a cool stuff in every serious stuff. So right now I have a very cool question to ask from you. If I give you a chance to invite three people on your dinner table, dead or alive, who that will be?
Dead or alive? Yeah. I would invite Steve Jobs, because I think Steve Jobs is just like the best entrepreneur I've heard of so far. Steve Jobs. Second one would be, I would say Bismarck. Bismarck is a very, very old, a big politician in Germany from the 1900s. He actually founded the German Republic. So this is the second one, and the third one I would say is it would be, yeah, let's say an actual one, Alex Hormozy.
Okay, nice, good, nice choices. I recently watched Steve Jobs' Netflix series, and I think
Yeah,
the guy is really great. And I was so much surprised that he has a lot, so many failed products as well.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it
He also
was
has
a
a lot of,
whole 30-year long struggle before he found iPhone.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Thimo, for jumping onto this call for coming to Founders Kahani today. To be very honest, I personally enjoyed this conversation a lot, and I hope our audience enjoyed it a lot as well. So we have like very short time remaining, but I think my audience will agree with this. We have to do the part two of this podcast as well, because till now I have a lot of questions to ask from
Yeah.
you. So at the end, if you have any advice to give to the young startup founders.
Mm. Fail fast.
Okay, that's very that's a very quick advice actually, and I think it's a very beneficial advice as well. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to Founders Kahani today, for jumping on to this episode today. I hope you enjoyed a lot of this episode today, as I enjoyed. See you in next podcast. See you next week. तब तक के लिए ख्याल रखें. Allah Hafiz.